We're back, and we're talking about Golden Age comic books. Again, we can't stay away from them, Jeff.
Nope, and I don't want to.
All right, we have a doozy for you today. A doozy, not because these aren't really cool books. These are fantastic books. It's a doozy for the characters who are featured on the cover. We are talking about subcategories of Golden Age comic books. I find it so interesting. We chatted about this last week, so be sure to check out that video. But we touched on it a little bit. Subcategories in this genre that's already unique within itself.
Yeah, so we're going to discuss how comics have a collectability for anybody in your interests. So when we say subcategories, I'm talking about things that people are into specifically. So it'd be either a Western or horror and maybe romance. But even deeper than that are going to be what we have here, which is electric chair covers.
Interesting. All right. So we were chatting last week, and then on the phone, you mentioned that you got something in the mail. You brought it to the table here, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm holding a Strange Suspense Stories issue number 19. Now, this is a classic cover. I know this cover, for one, it's shock value, no pun there. But we have a person in an electric chair, okay? And this is an issue that I'm aware of for two reasons. One, it's classic. I recognize this cover. But the second is that this is a Ditko cover, is it not?
Yeah, so a lot of you are going to be familiar with Steve Ditko because of Spider-Man or Doctor Strange and his work in those titles. But before that, he worked with other companies, and one of them specifically is Charlton, where he did a lot of great stuff for them. And this is one of the issues, Strange Suspense Stories 19, which you'll see as you're looking on the screen, just such a strong visual and in your face. And he did a lot of great work for them.
Now, Strange Suspense Stories is a title that was purchased from Fawcett after the 5th issue. And at that time, Fawcett only had this title for under a year. So when they sold it to Charlton, they had an option to either continue it or do what they did with a lot of titles at that time and continue the numbering from a canceled run.
Yeah, so before this run was a Lawbreaker Suspense Stories, okay? And so they continued that run when it was cut off with issue 16 of Strange Suspense Stories. And this is obviously issue 19 like we discussed. So I love this cover. I have a graded one, but I just picked up a raw one because I wanted to flip through it. And if I like one book, a lot of times I'm okay liking two of them.
So that's what you got too. I love it. So you got this 5.5 here, which is awesome. We have right on the label, classic electrocution cover. Now, something that I'm super excited about right now in this moment is that you have a raw copy here. Didn't even think about this happening, but on the label it says "Man Burned Alive" panel. I have to know what that is. Have you seen this panel?
I have seen it, so I got to show it to you. Toss me the book here. I'm going to find it for you really fast.
Find that book. Okay, because this is crazy. Because this is right here. We're looking at Strange Suspense Stories, issue number 19, classic electrocution cover. But inside, we have a fire panel. What is this?
So this brings us to another subcategory. When you take a look at this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Take a look here.
Look at this image here.
We have a flamethrower. Right? Is that the subcategory you're talking about?
Flamethrower covers.
We have a kid holding a flamethrower, lighting someone on fire.
This is a child.
This is right
here
what Golden Age is about. This is crazy.
And it's crazy. He's setting this person on fire. I'm sure the person did something
to deserve it or something,
if you will, but still something that people would collect.
Oh my gosh.
Either extreme violence, like we said, a flamethrower cover, and this electric chair cover.
Fantastic. Okay, so we actually got a bonus here in subcategories within this one issue because there are flamethrower covers that make Golden Age comic covers. I mean, I'm even thinking of some superhero ones where there's some flamethrowers on the cover, and that's specifically why it's wanted by collectors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the flamethrower war covers, man, I mean, their coloring usually is very bright.
Detail.
And just that the image and thought alone is always very strong in someone's mind of what it would feel like. Because just that burning thought is it's a horrible thought. So to see it drawn out on a cover Whew,
It gets you in
people
the
love it.
gut, man.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, you can tell from this cover that the goal was, how do we make someone buy this off the stand? And this is something that would get you to stop, because what do we have here? It says, operator, you've got to get through. He's innocent. This is worst case scenario for somebody. And you got to think, at the time that this came out, we have the death penalty and we have these kind of things happening in culture. And this is one of those horrors that people would experience, being put on death row if you're innocent and being killed. Oh my gosh. That brings us to another comic book here that I'm looking at. We have Fight Against Crime, Horror and Suspense, another classic cover. What can you tell me about this? Because I'm looking at another innocent person being put in the electric chair, some gorgeous color work happening, and some very, very vivid text in a bubble. No, stop, I'm innocent. I didn't do it. Sure, sucker, you're innocent. Only nobody knows it but me, because I did it. Not just an innocent person on death row. We have the murderer who put them there. I have to buy it. I have to know what's going on.
Yeah, the cover tells a very aggressive story and something intriguing where you feel like you got to buy it off the stand and
Right?
take a look at it. And this entire run is pretty violent, and it has some great covers on it. And this is one of them, and there's another one, number 20. Check it out, because it's another subphylum, decapitation covers.
Ooh, that's one that I'm excited to get into, because the skull, decapitation, shrunken head, those types of covers are also very wanted in this community.
And those are all violent stuff. And we will get into others like World War II covers and more romance covers and other things. But this is just one of the genres that kind of all play off of each other.
Definitely violent, definitely very intriguing. You look at it, it makes you stop. I'm looking at this Fight Against Crime, and I have to notate that you have the officer here. You got like this amazing use of negative space, and then the color bringing him in there, showing the victim, but also this like looming officer. Oh, I can't get enough of that. All right, and then we are going to step it up here, because now we have Web of Evil, another electric chair cover, but a little different. This is the other direction. It's so crazy that you got to read it, because this ain't someone who's innocent. This is someone who won't die.
Yeah, it insinuates on the cover because it says the man who died twice. And it's not like there's bubbles saying that he's innocent or not. He looks like a gentleman who probably deserved it.
He looks like he's enjoying this, man.
Right,
This is
you're right.
crazy.
It does. He's sickly enjoying
He's
the
laughing.
process of
It
being
actually says
shot.
ha 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 right there. I didn't even notice that. He's laughing. Oh, it's rough, dude.
And that's a classic cover too, as well as that strange suspense. So it's not just something we are labeling ourselves. Again, it says so on the label.
Jack Cole, man.
And Jack Cole, I mean, he has an amazing history in the comic industry. And again, another guy we will get into. It's short-lived, but it's definitely somebody who needs to be discussed. A true legend.
True legend. And aside from this quality comics dating back in 1953, we have a really nice orange cover. I really do appreciate that. They're so old that the color work almost, I mean, you can get high grade comics that still have a bit of fade in the golden age. But when you have an orange, a very vibrant, like sharp yellow type of scheme, it still pops even with that fade. This book still pops even if it came out in 1953.
Yeah, they really did work with the high contrasting colors, and they love their yellows, and they love their pinks, and they just love the really bold opposites, and they stand through the test of time. The inks were great back then.
Yeah, it definitely adds all the lights, like the lighting on the covers. Specifically, here is a really good example. I mean, the last Fight Against Crime, we were talking about the lighting. Here, you have the lighting on his face. You have the lighting on his freaking Adam's apple. The detail is so fantastic, and you got to pick it up. And credit for picking up a book with a date stamp. This is a total side note, but kudos. I appreciate a good date stamp.
I do too. I like signatures from previous owners. I like date stamps. I just like a little bit of that extra history. I mean, maybe nothing crazy over the top, but I don't mind it. And what I do mind is when you try to remove it, all right, and it looks like you just completely removed all this color instead, and it just brings more attention to it than it did with just a signature on there.
Pro tip, if you're ever trying to remove ink, which you shouldn't be doing if you've never done it before, and you shouldn't be doing it on gold if you've never done it before, the biggest trick is to know when to stop. All right. And then to finish off this small but amazing little collection of electrocution covers, we have a classic cover, but technically not. It's classic to me, but this Web of Evil, this Strange Suspense Stories, CGC puts on the label classic electrocution cover. This next comic book, Crime Does Not Pay, issue number 42, dating back from 1945. It doesn't say classic, but it does say electrocution cover. This is just a classy book.
Yeah, it's very subtle. It isn't so in your face, but it shows that a criminal is being shot, okay, and his future.
It's like foreshadowing in the shadow.
Yeah, in the shadow.
So freaking cool.
Is him being in an electric chair. So it might not say classic cover, but it's a very recognizable cover, and many people are familiar with it.
And it says all true crime stories. I'm curious, how true are these all true stories?
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably loosely based. So it would be interesting to just crack it out one day and just, Google
Right.
whatever the story is.
There's a bunch of them in here, just like more than one. So I wonder like how many true stories they had to.
I mean, yeah, it was a huge run. I mean, that was the beginning of Crime Does Not Pay. And so that started the launching stone or pad for all other crime to be successful.
All right. And we have a cover that is, it's gorgeous. We got what looks like to be a moon in the background that's orange. We have a character with just such great detail. Like I appreciate the detail in this golden era, really the pioneer era of comics. I mean, we're dating back. This is 45. They were figuring it out. This is years into them figuring out what they put on this paper that's going to sell and how to make something so intriguing that you're going to get those, the dime that you got in your pocket.
So this title started basically with Bob Wood and Charles Biro having a conversation in a bar and feeling there will be endless gangster stories if we did a crime.
Oh, that's awesome. He did Charles Biro did the cover.
Charles Biro did the cover, right. So, I mean, you see this guy robbing a Federal Reserve Bank. I mean, you can write bank robbing stories and gangster violence to the end of time. And it was an instant hit and success and drove the crime genre forward.
To that next level. So much to the point where they had to kind of do the shock jock and continue to outdo themselves every month to bring that vibrant, that scary feeling, that dreadful feeling, that grimy feeling in your stomach when you see some of these, to get them to move on the stands. And you see that effort in these with the detail, the color work. It stands out. There's a reason why these go for well more than many would expect, given that these are names and characters that aren't familiar and aren't talked about enough in the industry.
Yeah, and it's respected as a genre and a collectible because it was one of the main reasons that there's a comic code now. This violence and horror pushed towards us having to have a code.
It's so much more history to discuss. I'm excited to jump into it. Right here, we have subcategories of gold, electrocution covers. A great example of something we're going to continue to do here, which is just beyond the search and document our collecting and our research and anything that kind of speaks to us. This week, electric chair cover spoke to us. We hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We put out a lot of comic book content, and we do have a winner from last week's giveaway.
I want to give a shout out to Darth Parmo. He won that Dark Horse hardcover reprint of an EC title, Weird Fantasy number 14. Go ahead to the link in the description there for our email. Shoot us an email, let us know, and we'll get that out to you.
Oh, and then we have a giveaway for today. Let us know your favorite horror movie, because if you do in the comment section next week when we hit the mic to talk more about gold, we're going to be sending out, courtesy of D's Room. He's another YouTuber. I'm going to put his YouTube channel in the description, but he donated this amazing copy of Tales of Horror, issue number 6. We are giving out Golden Age comics on this show, so you're going to want to comment down below, be subscribed, and then, of course, as always,
geek responsibly.
Enough said. Are you looking for some comic books every month to be delivered to your house? Well, if you hit the link in the bio, you can join the Mystery Mail Call, our comic book subscription service, where we do just that.